I'm Gilbert Gottfried. This is Gilbert Gottfried's amazing Colossal podcast. I'm here with my co-host Frank Santopadre once again at Nutmeg Post with our engineer Frank Verderosa.
Nice.
Yeah, okay. Our guest this week is a writer, musician, comedian, and one of the most prolific and versatile actors of the last 40 years. Notable movies include Young Doctors in Love, Clue, Earth Girls Are Easy, Coneheads, Best in Show, The Brady Bunch movie, A Mighty Wind, and one of the most revered comedies of all time, This is Spinal Tap. He's also made his mark in dozens of television shows, including Dream On, The X-Files, Smallville, Family Tree, and the current sensation Better Call Saul. You want more? He's also a talented songwriter who composed several of Spinal Tap's non-hits, as well as the Oscar-nominated A Kiss at the End of the Rainbow from A Mighty Wind. Please welcome the only man alive who might do a better Vincent Price than I do, our pal Michael McKean.
Gilbert, that's a beautiful intro.
Yeah.
I can't possibly live up to that.
Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, guys.
Now, I should start out by confessing something.
Right.
I have never seen This is Spinal Tap.
Is it true?
Yeah.
Blasphemy.
And see, the problem is, I went a certain amount of time without seeing it, and everyone tells me how great it is. So now I know I can't see it because now nothing can live up to that.
I know. That's true. Well, then skip it. Gil.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay.
everybody else likes the shows.
Can we talk about
anything else?
Laverne and Shirley?
Sure,
for the
you
next hour?
caught that. Then. Okay.
Yeah, that I saw.
That's more his era,
Well,
Michael.
you know that you weren't overhyped on how good that was.
Now, you and David Lander
Yes.
invented those characters years before.
Yeah. Yeah, we met at college in 1965 at what is now Carnegie Mellon. At the time, it was Carnegie Tech. This was before the Mellon money. Once they were sure we were out of there, they started endowing it. But we met and we were actors together in acting school and teenagers, and drugs were consumed. What can I tell you? But we got we just smoked a little pot and we got a little silly and we created those characters along with many others. And David had a persona he did, which was kind of a heartless showbiz talk show persona guy. And but we also had these two guys that were kind of based on guys that we went to school with. And we made people laugh. And we thought, well, there's nothing commercial about these guys. But 9 years later, Penny Marshall had this show. She was a pal. She said, maybe you should hire those guys as writers. We were at the time, David and Harry Shearer and myself were known as the Credibility Gap, and we were a satirical outfit. Did a lot of satire on the news, on the radio, and live. And so they hired the three of us to write on the show. And they said, maybe we'll work those characters in. So we worked ourselves into the first episode. And we said, boy, is this easier than writing. And so, so we stayed.
Didn't you guys do it at a party? At Rothman and Gans, the creators of the show? Or
right.
You were asked to do it at a party?
Rob Reiner and Penny Marshall were married at the time. And there was a celebratory party because Penny had sold the show. Penny and her brother, Gary Marshall, and Mark Rothman and Lowell Gans, who were writers on Happy Days. They said, we're going to spin these two characters off, Laverne and Shirley. So they got a go-ahead from ABC, but they didn't have any supporting cast. So they figure, well, hire these guys and let's do it. So we did the characters at a party. We did a piece that we'd never done before or since, and we got some laughs. And they said, okay, good.
And that's so strange because that's like the 2,000-year-old man started at those parties.
Yeah. I know. You got to be careful what you do at a party. Yeah. You might wind up doing it for, 40, 50 years now.
Now, we get to the part I really want to know. I heard around that time, Penny Marshall and Cindy Williams hated each other.
No.
No?
No, they never did. Cindy did not have a great relationship with the writers.
Yeah.
They didn't know how to write for her. They knew how to write for Penny because Penny was like a kind of a Borscht Belt comic. I mean, she's a wisecracking. Her character was easier to write, just shtick. But no one could decide on how to do Cindy, and Cindy didn't quite know what to tell them. So that was really where the rub was, They never had a serious falling out. The last, my theory personally, is that every show is on the air for 1 year too long. It's true. You look at the last seasons of almost any show, even a show that's beloved, and it's a very rare one that doesn't have a crap last season.
Now, what was wrong with the last season? Because I noticed that a lot of shows fall apart.
Well, Cindy got pregnant. Cindy got married to Bill Hudson. She got pregnant. So we're going to have to shoot around Cindy. But Penny also wanted to get started as a director, as a film director. So she had like 7 out of 13 or whatever her deal was. I was out of there because I had a very specially designed clause that Gary Marshall and I hammered out. And I said, look, we've been trying to sell this movie, Spinal Tap. Maybe you've heard of it, Gil. And if we get a buy on that, then I'm out of here. And Gary said, yeah, okay. Thinking, boy, this kid hasn't got a prayer. No, but he's always been a big supporter of mine. And so I was not there for most of it. So for a lot of that last season, it was David as Squiggy. It was the great Phil Foster as Laverne's dad. And
Eddie Mecca.
Eddie Mecca and Betty Garrett. And neither Laverne nor Shirley were in a ton of those last shows in the last. It just kind of fell apart. Now, they want to keep things rolling, so they have a bigger syndication package. But a big package isn't the whole deal, as any woman will tell you.
Now, I'm sure you do a Gary Marshall imitation.
Everybody does. My Gary Marshall's no better than anyone else. The thing about Gary that he would do if he had bad news for you. David and I tried to spin the show off, spin our characters off, and we wrote a pilot, and we submitted it, and Gary had to break the news to us. So what Gary would do if he had bad news he probably still does it. If he had bad news for you, he would eat while he was doing it. He would bring like something sad, like a little cup full of Jell-O or something. And I just they looked at it. They thought it was really funny, and he's eating while your heart breaks. So you can't get mad at the guy. He did that to us twice. Both times we knew something was up when he came into our trailer with food. We knew that's not good news.
Do I have this right, Michael? Why did you? Was it David that referred to Lenny and Squiggy as Bizarro Fonzie? Or it was the amyl nitrate twins?
Amyl nitrate twins. That's what David called them. Yeah, because if the plot was getting a little slow,
I see.
They just kind of lower us. They would lower us from the ceiling like Groucho's duck.
Right.
Yeah. Bizarro Fonzie. I don't know. That's pretty good. I never heard.
You didn't hear that before? Now,
you've worked with and are friends with Harry Shearer.
Yeah.
Now, Paul Schaefer has said to me more than once, he said, Giller, Harry Shearer hates you. He just hates you.
Why would he volunteer that?
Yeah. Oh, he's
so unkind.
He totally.
Well, look.
You can't mention it.
Let me put it this way. Yeah. If Harry Shearer hates you, don't feel special. Okay? I'm not going to go into this. I mean, he's a very complicated guy, and we met 45 years ago, and we worked together in a lot of different things, and hey, I'm not going to go down that road.
But he had a perfectly good reason, Gil.
Well, I think on my season of Saturday Night Live, right after the original cast left, everyone had to come out and introduce themselves in a funny way.
Right.
And Charlie Rocket says, "Hi, I'm Charlie Rocket. I'm kind of the new Chevy Chase." And then I'm Joe Piscopo. I'm sort of a new Dan Aykroyd. And my bit was, I'm Gilbert Gottfried. I'm kind of a cross between John Belushi and that guy who did the imitations who nobody remembers.
Great. But you didn't write that. You were just doing your line.
Yes. But he hates you, Gilbert.
Well, look,
By the way, was Harry and Abbott and Costello Go to Mars?
Yes, he was.
Pretty cool.
He was.
Wow.
He was in 2 features as a kid. Abbott and Costello Go to Mars, and The Robe.
Oh, he's in The Robe. That's
I'm not
right. I knew
making it
that.
up. He's the little
Yes.
crippled boy.
And
in
he's
The
worked
Robe.
with Jack Benny.
Worked with Jack Benny a lot, yeah. He was also the original Eddie Haskell in
Right.
the pilot of
That's
Leave It to
right.
Beaver. But he he was already 15 or something and off to college. He was a prodigy.
And you met Harry in the Credibility Gap. So
Yes.
let you go. So if I got the chronology of this right, you went to school with David, and then you
Went to school with David at Carnegie, and then I
Right.
I was at NYU for 2 years, which is where I met Chris Guest
and Leopold.
and Leopold.
Yeah.
And
Tom
then-
Leopold, former podcast guest.
That's
I give him his
indeed.
shout out.
Yeah, and my good friend, and
Funny man.
Yes, indeed. And then I went off to California, and I worked with the Credibility app, and I met Harry there, and David, and a guy named Richard Beebe, who's
Right.
no longer with us, but he was a very funny man.
I've been listening to Credibility Gap stuff on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah,
What
you can find
you
it.
s- Oh,
Oh
goodness.
yeah, you can find the Carson sketch.
Yeah, that's
There's a
pretty
great
good.
Johnny Carson
Yeah.
sketch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and
That I heard.
think I had the album on vinyl.
It's possible.
I think there were 2
A
albums.
Great gift idea.
Great gift idea. I think I had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was released originally by Warner Brothers, and then we bought the master and put it out combined with another disc of our Rose Parade coverage.
Right. And it started, if I have this right, Credibility Gaps, it started as a radio
Yeah.
act, and then eventually you guys started doing
Live stuff.
live stuff.
Yeah. Actually, yesterday was the 46th anniversary, I happen
Cool.
to know because it was George Harrison's birthday, of the first time we did the act live at Long Beach State.
That's cool. There's a little tribute online that you've probably seen of Weird Al, who also did this show, it's on YouTube, talking about how he was influenced by the Credibility Gap.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And playing a little selection.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
Love
yeah.
Al.
And I remember
Lovely man.
you were talking about, and I remember them from TV around that time, was the Ace Trucking Company.
Sure.
Yeah.
George Memoli, Fred Willard,
Right.
Billy Saluga, and Mike Mislove. How
And
about that? And
do you-
sometimes a girl.
Do Billy Saluga.
Billy Saluga comes up on this show all the time, Mike.
I don't do a Billy.
Well, you can call me Ray, and
Or you can call me
Jay, but you don't have to call me Johnson.
You doesn't have to.
You doesn't have to call me
That's it.
Johnson.
You know, Bill Saluga is still around. We should
We gotta
call
get
him
him on.
We should get him on the show.
Well, actually, the Credibility Gap, the 3 of us, and 2 members of the Ace Trucking Company went out together because Mike Mislove and Billy left the act, and Fred Willard and George Memoli, they were still contracted to do 3 gigs in the Midwest. So they hired us, and we did Ace Trucking Company pieces and Gap pieces. We did Mr. Kelly's in Chicago. We did the Summerfest in Milwaukee. And we did a dinner theater in Valparaiso, Indiana.
Wow.
Those 3 gigs.
Wow.
And that's where I got to know how strange Fred Willard really
your
is.
first exposure to Fred.
Oh, my
Please,
God.
please talk.
Okay, here's an anecdote. If Fred Willard is checked into a hotel room that is too near the elevator, he will go downstairs and try to get another room because when the bell, it drives him insane. So if they can't change his room, he will take his little toolkit that he travels with and disconnect the bell, disconnect the wires to the bell.
I love that.
And he said that more than once he's had to disconnect the bell on the floor above and the floor below.
I love that.
Because he was just too sensitive. The shorter story is Martin Mull's summation of Fred Willard's mind, which is Fred doesn't use his turn signal.
That's great.
That
But a very sweet guy. I had the pleasure of meeting him once
awesome.
or twice, and he
Oh,
couldn't,
my
he
God.
couldn't be more
No.
genuine.
One of the sweetest
Down
men
to
I've
earth.
ever known.
Did I dream this? Why do I remember Patty Deutsch being in the
Patty Deutsch
in the
was
trucking?
yes, she
the
was
trucking company.
And there was another girl.
Remember Patty
named-
Deutsch, Gilbert, with the red hair from the game shows?
Oh, yes.
She was always on Match Game, and
Yeah. She was one of two different women who worked with them, but a lot of times it was just the four guys.
I barely remember.
Yeah.
Now you worked with, and I guess are friends with Paul Benedict.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
he comes up on the show too.
Yeah, who people remember from best from the Jeffersons
Right.
as their very,
Right.
very British next door neighbor.
Yeah.
And here's the story I heard about Paul
Well,
Benedict.
tell him what Liam. Go ahead.
That one time, he's a big guy, very tall, and cartoonish looking.
Yeah.
And I heard he was doing a play, and they said, someone here wants to talk to you. He was in the audience. And he figured, he wants an autograph or something. And the guy comes up to him and goes, yeah, hi, I'm a doctor. And I was looking at you on stage, and I think you have acromegaly.
Yeah.
You know this story.
Well, I don't know the story, but I do know that is something that he was diagnosed with.
Yeah.
Or there was a
Because people with acromegaly, we always bring up Rondo Hatton as an
Right.
extreme. They always have they're very tall and everything's exaggerated.
extensive jaw.
Yeah,
And, yeah.
Their hands and feet are
Yeah.
giant. And
That may be. I never got the solid answer on that. He was
Can
a
you-
very funny man.
Funny
could
guy.
you do a Paul Benedict imitation?
Well, you wouldn't recognize it though.
Yeah.
I mean, I do know that he was very soft spoken, and I was working with somebody. And he goes, "Yes, he's a very good singer. He can't act for shit, can he?" A very gentleman, a very sweet gentleman. Yeah.
And had you seen Spinal Tap, Gilbert,
Yeah.
you would know that he has a wonderful small role in
Now,
the
he
picture.
does.
I heard too, that surprised me, because he's always doing that English accent
Right.
and everything, and that he's American.
He's from Massachusetts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And great in The Goodbye Girl as the crackpot director.
Fabulous in The Goodbye Girl.
Really,
Yeah.
almost steals the movie.
Yeah.
Funny man.
Now, you're in all of those Christopher Guest movies, except which one are you not in?
I'm not in Waiting for Guffman.
That one I saw.
Yeah. You've got such good taste. You knew instinctively the one to see. I think that's sweet. No, it's a very funny movie.
It is indeed.
Yeah.
Like, what gets me about those movies
Yeah.
is, they're old comedies, and yet there is something so tragic about all of the people, all the characters in those movies.
Yeah. There's an element of, well, bless their heart. They are trying so hard.
Yeah.
And it's also Chris's films, or three of them, three out of the four, I think, anyway. There's this sense of a very small world that these people exist, a small bubble, and they're all kind of vying to be the star in a way. They're all kind of vying to be to rule that little tiny world.
Yeah, like
the dog
like
shows.
the dog show,
Yeah,
or
and
that
and
one
Corky.
play.
Yeah,
that they're
exactly.
doing,
Yeah, and even A Mighty Wind, which is about the world of folk music. In 2003, that was a pretty small world.
Yes.
And it was about the survivors. There's all these guys kind of surviving, and they're all there's this internecine competition among them. Who's top dog, and as much as in the dog show. So.
And all those characters are very sadly delusional.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
happily delusional.
Oh.
Some of them. Seriously.
But that's part of the fun of it. I mean, that's a
think
little
so,
thread
too. Yes.
with Chris's work. And
Yeah, there's even people who are kind of hopeless. I think there's an affection for them,
especially
I don't-
Corky and Guffman.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
he's
as
probably
absurd as he is,
Yes.
he's also sort of
he's
adorable,
lovable.
Yeah, exactly.
Very lovable.
Yeah.
So you saw that one, huh, Gil?
Yeah, that one.
He's holding out on you, Michael. He's seen Best in Show and might even.
It's all right. It's not a prerequisite. We can have a conversation without you having seen all of my shit. Did you see Young Doctors in Love?
Yes.
You did. I just saw a shot from that the other day. I thought, no way was I ever that young.
Oh, that's scary.
Just blonde, had so much blonde hair. My God.
Yeah, that was not too long after Laverne and Shirley.
That was while it was still going on.
Gary
really.
Marshall's first
directorial,
yeah.
Yeah.
With Hector Elizondo, who's then
Absolutely.
turned up in every one since.
That's right.
His good luck charm.
Well, it's his good luck charm, and also he's a really good basketball player.
Is he?
Yeah, so Gary values him for both. I don't know whether he still is, but I mean,
I've heard
30 years ago.
about Gary Marshall, that all of his cast and the people he chooses play basketball with him.
Yeah, and softball. Happy Days had a very serious, very humorless baseball team. You know, they're lovely people, but you know, with certain exceptions, they were all really kind of serious jocks. And we weren't. We were right next door. We were terrible. They were the Stepford cast. They just hit their marks and said their lines, and they were just awesome. And we were such a pain in the ass.
And I remember the first and last time we spoke.
Yes.
It wasn't a screening for Spinal Tap.
No, it wasn't.
I know that.
Yeah.
It was when they still had Politically Incorrect.
It's the Bill Marsall show.
Yeah, and we were all playing historical.
I know. I'm still not sure it was a great idea.
No,
but it was pretty funny, I thought.
I guess it came out well.
Yeah, and you were Napoleon.
Yeah.
And I was Freud. And Rod Steiger was Mussolini.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You guys did Politically Incorrect with Rod Steiger.
With Rod Steiger. Yeah.
Sorry to miss that.
Well, he was interesting because and we were kind of looking for jokes and everything. And Rod was like looking to invade Ethiopia. He was saying he was a very hard-ass Mussolini.
Oh, that's funny.
This was not a minor league Mussolini we were saying.
Funny.
Yeah, Steiger wasn't one of those, hey, let's goof around and have some fun.
No, he was hard. But he was great. And the first thing I told him, I said, I got to tell you, your portrayal of Mr. Joy Boy in The Loved One is a great comic performance.
It is.
And he didn't do a lot of comedies. You know, he was a wonderful actor, but he didn't do a lot of and this was like a seriously creepy
Trying to think of him in another comedy later, like Mars Attacks and stuff like that, but not much. We like No Way to Treat a Lady, which is sort of a black comedy.
He's funny in that.
Yeah.
He's actually funny in that. But it's dark.
Boy, he comes up a lot on this show, doesn't he?
Oh, my
Rod
God,
Steiger.
Yeah.
His widow is apparently just written a book.
Oh my God!
So maybe
which widow?
Maybe I think
I guess
I'm
that's
going to say
the only one gets to be a widow.
Yeah.
Well, his first wife wound up married to Philip Roth.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Claire Bloom.
That's the name I was trying to remember of his wives. I knew there was one.
Claire Bloom. Yeah. Very beautiful English actress. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing about Spinal Tap that Gilbert will relate to, even though he didn't see the movie. One of our early guests.
Could you spell that for me?
Yes, well, it was spelled differently when it first started, right? It was Spinal Tap
with a Y.
Yeah, with a Y.
That was one of the things we thought about.
Yeah, when you got didn't you get a gift recently from Christopher?
Well, when I opened, I took over for Harvey Firestein in Hairspray 11 years ago, and as an opening night gift, I got a framed picture. I had seen it before, but it was a piece of notebook paper where we were jotting down all these names of these prospective names for the band that we were going to do. And this was before it was a movie. It was a sketch on a show called The TV Show.
I remember it.
Yeah, which
Leopold was a writer on that show.
He was also very funny in that show. Yeah, and Harry Shearer and Chris. Harry was one of the producers, and Chris was a writer on the show, and Tom and Rob, of course, and a bunch of others.
Martin Mull.
Martin Mull was in the show. Yeah. Yes, he was. And so they were, I was on the phone with them, and we were trying to pitch it because I wasn't on the show. I was just going to do that one piece. But we were pitching ideas, and I was on the phone, and I remember that was one of the ones that came up. No one can remember who it was who came up with it. But they were all being jotted down in this pitch. So, in 2004, I got this framed copy of that. Not a copy; it was the actual thing. And it was all these other, Bloodhammer and all these other, names.
Jumbo Prawns.
Jumbo Prawns.
It could have been This is Jumbo Prawns.
This is Jumbo Prawns.
And tell us about your season of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. Really?
Only if you tell us about yours, Gil.
God.
Yeah, we both have,
I've been trying to
Well, look,
make people forget.
I did Coneheads, which was, of course,
Yes.
Danny Aykroyd and Tom Davis created those characters, and so they did this movie, and I was playing Gorman Seedling, which was a part originally played in a sketch. It was an immigration guy played by Bill Murray in the third season, I guess. But I was the immigration guy in this thing, and I had kind of a nice time with Lorne, and he was looking for someone because he knew that Phil Hartman was leaving the show, so they needed another adult. They had plenty of kids coming up, plenty of younger guys coming up. So they needed someone to be David Spade's dad, or to be Clinton. I mean. But, just following Phil Hartman's Clinton that's one of the stupidest things I've ever. And they said, "Would you do it?" And I said, "Yeah, okay." And it just no.
But you had some good moments.
That's all right. I had a couple of things that I liked.
I think you're the answer to a trivia question too.
Oh,
the first person to join the cast after having been a host. Is that not right? In 84.
You know what? I think that is right.
Yeah.
I'm definitely the first person to have joined the cast after having been both a host and a musical guest, because Spinal Tap appeared on the show in 84.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you hosted during when Harry and Chris were there in the Ebersol All-Star year.
The three of us were offered SNL, but my then wife was newly pregnant. We just got a new house. It was not the time to be leaving L.A., so I had to pass. So, Harry and Chris went off and wound up not speaking to each other for several years.
I love that season, and it's not available on DVD.
No,
it's only on VHS.
There's some really great
I had it.
stuff.
Really great stuff.
Now, you are also a case of one of those people who people already knew
Right.
before you came to SNL.
Yeah. I think the ideal time to do SNL, to start on SNL in the cast, is when you're like 28 and really hungry, And I was 45 and not particularly hungry. I already knew what I did for a living, And I felt like what I was. I was kind of a swingman, I was kind of a guy who could do some things. And I discovered a few things along the way, and it was fun. And I was on only 26 shows, but as a writer or co-writer, I had 26 sketches on. So I really don't have 20 sketches on. So I don't have a lot of complaints. It was a lot of fun being paid decent money to be in my hometown and hang out with some funny people.
A far better experience than Gilbert
Horrible.
had.
That was a real
Dumanian.
Jean Dumanian.
Yeah.
Following
and
the
it was
original
right after
Beatles.
the
Jeannie
original
Doom. That's
cast.
her street name is Jeannie Doom. She's gone very street. Jeannie Doom. I've actually worked with her several times since then. I didn't know her in those days, but she's produced a couple of plays that I've done.
Tell Michael that story of how you were waiting outside the office.
Oh,
it's worth telling him.
I mean, that show, the season I was on, was doomed from the start.
Yeah.
Because we were after the original cast and Lorne Michaels left.
Stenny Dillon?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Sure. And you worked with her on Dream On.
I did. Yeah. And Charlie,
Yeah.
who I worked with in Earth Girls Are Easy.
Wow.
Right.
I've worked with everybody. Yeah. I'm the town pump. Let's face
And,
it.
and
Gail
Eddie
Mathias.
Murphy. Yeah, Gail Mathias.
Gail's great.
Right.
And Risley.
And Risley, right.
And so I remember
And Biscopo.
it was that, we were all in trouble, and they fired Jean Domain.
Yeah.
And then Dick Ebersol comes in and says, "Okay, we're going to give everyone a week off, and when you come back, we're just going to make some changes here and there, and we'll meet you and tell you what it is." And I'm waiting outside his office for my turn to go in, and while I'm killing time out there, they had a desk where they used to dump the fan letters, and I pick up a letter from some girl from Oklahoma or wherever, and she goes, "Dear Gilbert, I'm so sorry about what happened to you."
I love that.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I love that story.
Yeah, so I was the last to know.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Yeah, don't come to the upfronts tomorrow. I got that once.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was on a show called Grand, which was a series, and it was on right after the Cosby Show. So it was like a perfect hammock. It was like, oh, no way, it's not going to be a hit. We did fine numbers and everything, but it wasn't. We weren't holding the numbers, and so they decided to make some changes. And I didn't know about that. And I'm doing a Broadway show at the time. And I'm about to go on, and I talked to my agent, and she said, "Yeah, don't go to the upfronts." Really? Why not? I thought we were going to do a little piece in it. No, don't go to the upfronts. Why not? Well, you're not going to be on the show anymore.
Did you witness something with Norm, with Gilbert's friend Norm Macdonald, while you were there?
I did.
I heard you tell this story.
Well, it was. Do you
know this, Gil?
It's Ian Maxtone Graham, who is he's a writer. He's written on The Simpsons, and he was on SNL at the time. He might still be a writer on The Simpsons. I don't know, but he's this big, tall guy, and he was always in his jogging suit. He was always out running and working out and stuff. So he came into the writer's room there. And Norm was smoking a cigarette, and he's not supposed to be smoking indoors at the time, But Norm just light up a cigarette. So he's Jay Moore is the only one who does a really great Norm Macdonald. But anyway, he's smoking a cigarette, and Ian said, "You're not supposed to smoke up here." And Norm said, "Yeah, don't worry about it," or something like that. And so Ian squirts him with a bottle of water, just squirts him in the face with it to put the cigarette out. And Norm took a swing at him, and they went at it, and it was pretty good for a couple of seconds. Two real tall, kind of gawky guys, swinging away at each other. And Farley broke it up. Farley just stepped in because he was, that was who he was, and. So it was. I wish it should have ended with someone going out the window, but it didn't.
It was an entertaining 26 seconds. 26 episodes. However many weeks you were there.
Yeah, I had some fun.
Was Norm screaming or yelling stuff at him while he was punching?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think it was pretty physical. I think they were all. I think nothing needed to be spoken.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, cocksucker. Gonna fucking kill you.
Herb Sargent told me that Norm punched a couple of people out there. I think it happened more than once.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's an interesting guy. I mean,
He is.
He is. I think he's fabulous. I think he's very funny, and I think he's a very smart guy. And he's a very kind of sensitive guy. I mean, he just did this Larry King interview. It's on Hulu, and he's really kind of wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, he teared up at the last week of
I know.
Letterman. He did
Well,
that. It was so moving.
That was amazing.
Yeah. It was a real moment.
Yeah.
But I'm going to bring it back to Spinal Tap only because
Okay, I'm going to go out and take a walk.
one of our first guests on this show was Joe Franklin.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And you guys famously
Bless
did
his heart,
the Franklin Show.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is the question I'm sure you've been asked.
Did he know it? We were kidding.
Yeah.
You know what? It didn't seem so at the time.
Yeah.
And we showed up. We showed up in wardrobe. It's not like we traveled there in our spandex and our wigs and stuff, and played I guess Listen to the Flower People and played the whole version.
I remember.
Yeah, and he treated us like any other band who would have been on that show. But the thing I mainly remember, it was at one point he was wearing a double-breasted brown pinstripe suit, and at one point he stood up and just to stretch, and I saw that there was a huge just gash in the suit that had been stitched together by a blind person, apparently. It was just, and it just broke my heart. It was so sweet. Yeah. But I remember Joe Franklin from when I was growing up, my whole life.
We should say tell our listeners you're a local product from Seacliff.
I grew up in Seacliff, yeah.
It was the strange, it's like the show that told you were staying up too late.
Yeah. Well, it was also, though, it was on in the early afternoon when I was a little kid. I first remember Joe Franklin being on in the afternoon. And he would show, some silent stuff, silent comedies, and some really obscure, like Wheeler and Woolsey.
Yes.
Guys, and those were sound. And Charlie Chase, who you never saw anywhere. Charlie Chase was really, really funny.
Now, I think it was Wheeler and Woolsey. Was that the team where one of them painted on his eyeglasses?
Yeah, Burt Wheeler.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Fooling exactly no one. And I just thought it was just kind of weird that no one in the film with him went, Did you paint those on?
Groucho had a painted mustache.
Well, that's a little different.
Right.
But it was the same thing. I used to feel, remember the show Jungle Jim? With Johnny Weissmuller?
Yeah.
I kept waiting for someone to say, yes, Inspector, and this is Jungle Jim. Jungle Jim? But nobody ever did. What the hell?
Now, you said Lorne Michaels got mad at you just once.
Yeah.
It was distemper.
I was reading backstage. I was reading this book about soccer hooligans. I couldn't take my eyes off it. And it was I had nothing to do for like 20 minutes, And he just kind of glowered at me, catching up on your reading. And I go, okay. All right. I'm sorry. I know, what do you say? It was, I was doing it out in the open. It was so stupid. But you know what? I would do anything to keep me away from those craft service tables. They were just insane. They would put vats of macaroni and cheese out there. And I gained so much weight on that show. I went into slimmo and I came out a fatty.
You're a big, like us, a silent comedy fan. I mean, obviously you're bringing up people like Charlie Chase. We've had 6 people, I think, by our count. You know where I'm going with this, Gil.
Who worked with Buster Keaton.
We've had 6 people on this show who worked with. We had Chuck McCann.
James Karen.
We had James Karen.
Jimmy Karen.
Yeah.
I remember Jimmy Karen.
Yes. Nice man.
Great guy.
And we had, who else? Paul Dooley.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
We had
I did not know that.
We had Frankie
was
Avalon.
Larry Storch.
Frankie Avalon got some beach pictures.
Yes.
That's right.
Not Storch. I'm trying to remember who the other ones were.
There was another one.
Well, Dick Van Dyke.
Oh, yes.
Well, knew him. Didn't work.
Yeah.
We just had Dick Van Dyke on the show last week.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
90
right there. I know. Bless his heart.
I don't have to tell you, sharp is.
And totally alert.
Yeah. Well, Norman Lear.
Yeah.
Who's 94. And,
I guess we should get Norman Lear.
It's pretty amazing.
I don't think we'll ever get Harry Shearer.
You don't. Never say never.
Well, you never know. He did the Marin show. I know that. Said some crummy things.
And I love this, too. You played Carl Laemmle in Drunk History.
Oh, wow.
I did.
Yeah. This is stuff
Carl.
right up our alley, Michael.
Yeah, I love Drunk
These are the people we
History.
talk
The
about.
head of
Makes me
Universal
laugh.
Studios.
Yes, the guy who started Universal, yeah.
With all, that's, I love him because I'm just such a fan of the old monster movies.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Now, you grew up in New York?
In New York, yeah.
So do you remember when the Universal monster movies first started in Shock Theater?
Yes.
There were Saturday nights at like 11:30 or something. And
I remember there were certain nights or certain channels that would have the Universal classic monster movies. And then there were like a million of the other stuff, like Indestructible Man and Plan 9.
All the sea pictures.
But still were also fun.
Yeah. Oh, no, they were great. Yeah. And Zachary, you remember Zachary?
Yes.
He's
also
he's still with us.
Yeah.
Yes. Hanging on.
Yeah. I have an autographed T-shirt. Mike Thompson, who was one of the makeup guys on SNL, is friends with Zach. And he got me an autographed T-shirt. A picture of Zachary on it says, "To MichaelMcKean, Good luck in the afterlife.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, he was awesome.
And I remember Zachary used to, and it was more tricky back then because it was live. He would jump into the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But he'd do it sparingly.
Yeah.
He'd do it just a couple of times, a half hour. And one time was brilliant. It was, I think it was The Raven. Remember, with Karloff and Lugosi?
Yes.
And Lugosi was playing the organ, as villainous people often did in those movies. And he just replaced the music. So there was supposed to be this minor key, ominous music, but instead it was like... It was hysterical.
Is the Raven the one where he's the twisted surgeon, where he has to...
And he messes up Karloff's face.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think somebody said that they came across a makeup box, and in it was like a round piece of white paper with a black dot in it. And they were saying, what the hell's this? And they figured out that white piece of paper with the black dot was the Karloff's other eye.
Oh, my God. Wow.
Really cool stuff.
Yeah.
You like the black cat, too?
I do like the black cat.
It's a good one.
I have, this is a makeup relic, I have a mold of one of the ears that Martin Landau wore as Lugosi in
Wow.
in Ed Wood.
That's cool.
Yeah, I got one of those. So my mantle.
Yeah.
I also have a life mask of Karloff.
Oh, see, I don't have a Karloff. I have a Lugosi, Lon Chaney.
cast?
Yeah, the life mask.
Yeah.
Lugosi, Lon Chaney Jr.,
Yeah.
and Vincent Price.
Wow.
And also Al Pacino. From Al Pacino Meets Jekyll and Hyde.
Where'd you come across these?
I've got them. From like makeup people.
Yeah.
All have these.
Yeah, there was this outfit up in Nyack that I had to get a prosthetic thing for a mangled arm I did for a TV show, and they had like Jimmy Durante, and they had all these people on the wall and everything, and I said there was a Karloff there. I said, oh my God, that's great.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll send you one. So they mailed me one.
I love that you both have horror icon life masks on your wall.
crazy.
Yeah.
I got two of me. I got one from a Star Trek I did, and one that's just my regular face that was cast for the Adam Sandler movie, the Little Nicky, because they had to do a special effects thing for my face. So
They did one of me, and I never got a copy.
Well, maybe you can
Yeah.
contact them and see if it's still lying around someplace.
I'm sure, like, all these makeup men seem to have the same ones. If
Right.
they don't have it, they could get
they
it.
get a copy.
Yeah.
Well, sure. They just took a little melange and make a copy of that one. Yeah.
We had Sarah Karloff on this show.
Really?
We had Bela Jr.
Wow.
Bela Jr.
Bela Jr., yeah.
And we had
Lon Chaney Jr.'s grandson.
we had Ron Chaney.
Ron Chaney.
Yeah.
Bless his heart.
Yeah. And I've heard you tell that story, the wonderful story of the drunk Lon Chaney Jr. on live television.
Oh,
Yeah.
this I have to hear.
Well, apparently he was doing Frankenstein. He was playing the Frankenstein monster.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
you
I
know
know.
this.
You know
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he thought it was still that he'd been drinking since early in the morning, and he thought it was still the dress rehearsal. So instead of picking up the table and throwing it, he would pick it up a little bit and say, so I pick up the table and I throw it. But instead of throwing it, he puts it down. So it was basically he was feng shuiing the lab instead of destroying it while it was on, while the cameras were rolling, apparently.
Speaking of Vincent Price, since you guys brought him up, you want to do something silly?
I'll try. I haven't done them in a while.
You both, Gilbert does a wonderful Vincent Price, which he's done on the show numerous
There's
times.
such a call for it.
And Michael did a wonderful Vincent Price on SNL and in other places. And I thought you guys could each take a section of this.
Okay. Sure. Go.
So, Gilbert,
Okay.
you want to do the one that's marked G?
If it's really
Okay.
good, I'm not going to come in.
I know,
You
that's
can
the
do
way
second.
I feel.
He's pretty good. You could do the second paragraph.
The tingler exists in every human being. We now know. Look at the tingler, Dave. It's an ugly and dangerous thing. Ugly because it's the creation of man's fear. Dangerous because a frightened man is dangerous.
Ladies and gentlemen, just a word of warning. If any of you are not convinced that you have a tingler of your own, the next time you're frightened in the dark, don't scream.
Now, both of us.
Make you now do it together.
Ladies and gentlemen,
do
please
not
do not
panic, but
scream.
Scream for your lives.
Pretty good. That's like the first Beatles records where they were double tracked in unison.
I love it.
Have you? I've met Vincent Price like twice.
I never met him.
Wow.
I saw him in a couple of restaurants in L.A. and almost went up to him, but then said no. Yeah.
But I remember your impression, and you kept referencing my wife, the actress Coral.
My wife, the actress Coral Brown.
I actually saw an interview with him, or some kind of maybe it was a pledge break or something on PBS, and he said that at least twice.
Right. Well, you did one of the sketches you did on SNL was a pledge break.
That's
Pledge-a-thon or something.
Yes.
That's where I first saw you do it.
Dead man's beans.
Yeah.
It's a recipe. I was reading a recipe. That's right.
We had Victoria Price on here too on the show.
Really?
Yeah. She's very sweet.
That's cool.
I remember,
And she's forthcoming about his sexuality and other things. Yeah.
Picadillos.
Hey, you know what? We're all grown-ups here.
Not that anybody, I think, was ever really totally. See, it was weird back then. Gay was either eccentric or sinister.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Just like, Paul Lynde was eccentric.
To say the least.
Yeah, he wasn't gay. He was just like, or Charles Nelson Riley, eccentric.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I used to, in Laura, for example, which is a, terrific movie.
Yeah.
And here's this guy who's the kind of the interloper. He's the ladies' man. And it was like, okay. All right.
I remember in Laura, that's where...
And Clifton Webb, who was also...
Yes!
I was just going to say Clifton Webb, too.
Yeah. It's like...
perfect.
Yeah.
So Laura was kind of a,
Everyone in it was gay, but they not supposed to be.
Yeah.
I remember in Laura, that's where they said to Vincent Price, "Oh, do you know a lot about art?" And he goes, "I don't know a lot about anything, but I know a little about practically everything."
That's right. Yeah. Yep.
Now, I've heard you say that you never found Vincent Price scary. You found Peter Lorre scary. But you never thought...
Yeah. Well, I mean, Peter Lorre is scary in M.
Yes.
And that's
God.
Yes.
That's a seriously creepy movie.
Yes.
And that made him a star.
Yeah.
That was it was interesting that it was like Peter Lorre and Richard Widmark became a star from a role that was really sinister.
Oh, The Kiss of Death.
The Kiss of Death, yeah. I mean, you can't top kicking a crippled old lady down the stairs in a wheelchair.
And he had that crazy laugh.
Yeah. Just really
and I think that's where Frank Gorshin got the Riddler laugh from.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Yeah, definitely.
Now, the minute I said that Michael McKean was going to be on the show, inevitably, everyone...
I don't know where you're going with this. Be careful, Michael. Be afraid. He's already breaking himself up.
We have to address the
He never worked with Danny Thomas, so don't go there. Don't even bother.
I was in a car with Tom Leopold when Gary Goodrow, does that name ring any bells?
Oh, sure. Is it National Lampoon?
Lampoon.
Yeah.
He was with
Gary Goodrow,
Lemmings.
Yeah.
But he was also with The Committee, Second City.
Right.
living theater, and he took saxophone lessons from Charlie Parker. So the guy really got around. He was the one we first heard that from. And Tom Leopold, I've never heard. I mean, he can, when he gets lost in a laugh.
Oh, yes.
He was gone. He was gone for a half an hour. He was inconsolable. He was laughing so hard.
Yeah. I've had hour-long conversations with Tom Leopold on that subject. It's an inexhaustible topic for him.
And then I heard a story that someone asked Milton Berle about Danny Thomas.
Yeah, I don't know that.
And Milton Berle got serious and said, yeah, Danny was a Jekyll and Hyde.
Wow.
Where were you going with this before I stopped?
You never shit on Danny Thomas. So, that's what I want. Did you ever throw orange wedges at Cesar Romero's naked ass?
Have you heard this one?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, according to every show
I
I've
apologize,
ever done,
Michael.
I tell
When you say every show, meet the press, for example, or
the McNeil Lair
this just in.
Cesar Romero. In case any of our listeners haven't heard me say
72 times.
Cesar Romero, he also Latin lover on camera.
Yeah.
But he was gay in real life.
Yeah.
And his thing was he'd gather up a bunch of young boy toys, and then he'd pull down his pants and underwear and bend over, and they'd have to throw orange wedges at his ass. Some say tangerine wedges. That's the only argument.
That's ridiculous.
Some say tangelos.
Yeah, see, that's the only argument.
Philistines.
It was some citrus fruit was flung at his ass.
Well, I guess that's a kind of a beautiful story. But I've not heard that before. No.
Now, he's asked at least 3 guests that we've had that work with Cesar Romero. He asked Julie Newmar. He asked Lee Merriweather, bless her heart.
Adam West.
And Adam West.
I think you're asking the wrong people. I really do. I think Roddy McDowell could have told you.
Oh,
Right.
he would have
Or
been
Victor
a good
Buono.
one.
Or Victor Buono, perhaps, yeah.
Or David Wayne. Or Vincent Price.
For God's sake, yeah.
Yeah,
Possibly.
Mr. Egghead.
The guy who did my makeup on Laverne and Shirley did Cesar Romero's Joker makeup.
Really?
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
he did. No, he did a lot of the Batman stuff.
Did he mention?
Didn't mention the
smelling of
orange.
orange?
He always smelled so fresh, almost a citrus kind of scent. I just assumed it was.
Is it true his nickname? They used to call him Mr. Tropicana.
Oh man!
Yeah,
He had his tattooed on his ass from concentrate. You see, it's so easy.
Oh, a couple of things to ask you about here, Mike, as we're winding down.
No. Here's what
He's got something in his.
Okay, go ahead.
In his
Naturally,
yeah.
we can't avoid the inevitable. Everyone said, of course, can you and Michael McKean sing a duet of Just Walk Away, Renee?
Walk Away, Renee.
Yeah.
I didn't do the vocals on
Yeah.
that. On that
Were you in the left bank when they recorded that? Or
yes and no. Yes, with an asterisk. Okay. The original band kind of fell apart after their first album, which kind of tanked, and then suddenly they had a hit single, and they re-released the album, but the band wasn't getting along. And Mike Brown, who was the author of Walk Away Renee, co-author, and he wrote Pretty Ballerina, which was their other top 20 hit. He tried to assemble put together another band. It was a guy named Bert Summer on bass and vocals. He had kind of a tenor voice similar to he's a much better singer than Steve Martin, who was the not that Steve Martin, the lead singer of the original left bank, and a guy named Warren Shearhorst who had played drums on some of the original tracks. And so we put together this new version, and I was 19, and we rehearsed, and we were about to do some gigs, and then Mike Brown had a big falling out with his father, who was also our manager. And so we never actually did anything. They released one single while we were together, but it was all session guys. It was Bert singing lead and Mike on keyboards, but everybody else was a session guy. I wasn't much of a guitar player at the time.
Well, would you be willing to try it now?
Sure. Let's see. It's in E flat originally, but it doesn't have
That means nothing to him.
Yeah. You've obviously never.
And when I see the sign that
points
one way. Tempo. The lot we used to pass by every day.
Just walk away, Renee.
You won't see me. I'm trying to do harmony, but
Not possible.
Forget it.
I need a melody. You back home. The empty sidewalks on my block are not the same.
You're not to blame.
See, I'm playing my guitar part with my voice. It's all wrong. I say we don't go on. It can only get worse. Your name is. You know who should cover this song? Rufus Wainwright.
Oh,
Wouldn't he be amazing?
That'd be great.
Oh my God.
That'd be great.
I've known Rufus since he was months old.
Because you met Loudon at college,
old
right?
friend of
because I
mine,
have to sing in each show.
Okay.
My fans.
He sings on every show.
All right. You got some instruments out there.
Yeah,
Right
there's
there,
one. There's
yeah.
one there they've prepared for you. Would
Yeah.
we be putting you on a spot? And
Okay.
yeah,
I haven't taken my Advil today. I got a little arthritis. But,
Really?
You know.
Now, this is something I found a surprise. You're married to the actress Annette O'Toole?
Sure is.
My wife, the actress Annette O'Toole.
Annette O'Toole.
I am. Yes, we've been married 16 years.
Yeah,
Yep.
because why I remember Annette O'Toole is she showed her tits in Cat People.
Yes, she did.
Great scene.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was very, very. Tell her
It's impressive.
when you talk to your wife, please thank her for me.
Okay. She's been thanked for that a lot. Yeah.
I like her in Cross My Heart with Martin Short.
Marty Short?
Yeah.
Did she show her tits? in
No,
that?
no, Marty did.
In Cat People, she great.
Yeah, she's gorgeous. Still gorgeous. She is now playing a man in a show called Southern Comfort. It's a musical. It's down at the Public.
Wow.
They open officially on the 8th. They're in previews right now, and they're sold out. So, but it's this amazing. It's a very remarkable musical. They've been workshopping it for 5 years. So they got their big New York shot now.
Good for her.
Yeah,
What's it
it's
called?
pretty awesome.
Give us
Southern
a plug.
Comfort.
Southern Comfort.
Yeah.
At the Public.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Okay. Doing a little research, I didn't know that she had been acting so long. That she had been in stuff in the 70s. That she was in the Partridge Family and
She was. Did
was it
Partridge
the
Family?
Virginian and
My Three Sons.
yeah. Did you know that, Gilbert? She's been,
Oh,
she's been,
see,
she's
that
been
I
doing it
didn't
that
know.
long.
Gunsmoke?
Gunsmoke. Yeah.
It was her first TV thing. Was a Gunsmoke. Which
Pretty
was
cool.
18. Yeah.
And then wasn't she in one of the incarnations of Superman?
Yeah. She was.
She was Lois Lane. No, she was, Lana Lang
Right.
in Superman 3. And then she was on Smallville as Martha Kent,
Oh, Clark's mother.
Mom. Yeah, exactly. And I was Perry White on that show.
I remember.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I just did a couple of episodes.
But
Nepotism.
They never had you say Great Caesar's Ghost.
I think, no. They had another character do it, and I kind of react to it. Because it's the nascent Perry White's. Before he's the editor of the Planet, he's this kind of investigative reporter.
Before he was the blustery
That's
Perry
right,
White. Yeah.
But that was a fun show to do. It's up in Vancouver, which is a nice town.
You want to tell us, Gilbert? Did you know that Michael was in the Sunshine Boys remake with Peter Falk and Woody Allen?
Oh, my God. I saw that.
I've never seen it, and I don't intend to. I hear it's pretty dire.
I remember watching that on TV, and I thought, Woody Allen and Peter Falk, this has to be great. And I remember, first of all, it seemed like Peter Falk and Woody Allen were in two different productions.
That's very true. That's very true.
Like, Peter Falk was doing like this 90-year-old Jewish man, and Woody Allen was Woody Allen.
Yeah. And I just worked one day on that show, and they were two very, very different people. And I had a lot of fun with Peter, and Woody was just kind of by himself. He just kind of like getting through it, and he didn't socialize really. And I worked with Woody a couple of times years later, and it kind of depends on what he's doing, I think. I did a film with him, and he was great, and I did a play with him that he wrote and directed, and it wasn't his element, He likes being the film director. He likes being the guy making the movie, and he was really fun then, but I don't know. It's just your sphere will tell a lot about you, I think.
Yeah,
but Peter was great. Peter was like a super guy.
But it seemed like the two of them were in two totally different productions.
Very, very true.
And didn't they give the Richard Benjamin character a sex change? Wasn't it Sarah Jessica Parker?
Sarah Jessica Parker, that's right.
How
that's
strange.
Right. I know. Yeah. And,
do you have any stories, anything about working with Busey? You work
Another guest on our podcast.
And you do a pretty good Busey impression.
Yeah, I did. When I did it on SNL, the next day was the Sunday after I had done the show, I ran into him in the airport, and he said, "I hear you did me on SNL last night." And I said, "Oh, yeah, because I didn't know how he was going to react."
Right, exactly.
I had worked with him before, and in this movie, and he said, "I didn't see it. My manager said it's really funny though." So we'd run into each other, and my Annette, who I wasn't with at that time, but she worked with him years before too.
We had him on here.
Yeah, he's a character.
He's a strange cat.
Yeah.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Any stories about Clue or Radioland Murders? Two movies I like. They're sort of maligned.
I've never seen all of Radioland. Clue I'm very fond of.
Yeah, it's fun.
We did have a lot of fun. We had some really funny lunches.
And a great cast.
With, Martin Mull and Tim Curry and Eileen Brennan and Madeline Kahn and Chris Lloyd. And it was just, everyone was a little bit nuts, and we just had a lot of fun.
Co-written by John Landis, which I don't think a lot of people know.
Co-written by John Landis. The original pitch was by John Cleese.
Really?
Who was going to play the butler.
This I didn't know.
Yeah. And I don't think they used any of his material because they did a total rewrite when John Lynn came aboard, Jonathan Lynn, the director.
Right.
And it was his first film. And we've stayed close, and he directed me in a play a couple of years ago in L.A., and he was baffled. He was baffled when it was a flop. And now he's really baffled that it's the movie he's most well known for. Because people love Clue. People who grew up with it just really love it.
Yeah.
And it is. It's a really sweet kind of goofball movie.
The reviews were decidedly mixed at the time, but I think its reputation has grown over the years.
Yeah, it didn't get much in the way of critical. Also, I think the original idea was to release it with 3 different endings, and you never knew which ending you were going to get.
Right.
And it made people very cynical about it. They're responsible. How good is this movie going to be if it could end 3 different ways? So finally, for the home video, they released it with, well, maybe that's how it happened. Maybe this is how it happened. Maybe, and they released 3 endings. There was a 4th ending, which they never even cut because it was kind of a big mess. Mm-hmm. But I'm the only one who was never guilty. I was
Mr. Green.
Mr. Green was the only one who never committed any murders.
Here's one question about Spinal Tap that'll get Gilbert interested in it.
Which was this
I'm not going to give it up, Michael.
Okay.
Were the drummers named with the Stooges in mind?
Yes, of course.
There you go.
Well, we just thought of Stumpy as a funny nickname for the guy, and then his replacement, how about Stumpy Joe?
Stumpy Joe.
And then
the drummers keep dying to see Gilbert. It's a runner.
The last one was Joe Mama Besser.
Well, I knew that Joe Mama Besser was...
Joe Mama Besser, played by Fred Asparagus. That was his name.
There's a real guy, Fred
Real guy
Asparagus?
who was also in Three Amigos.
Really?
Yeah. I don't lie
This is good stuff.
because I don't need to. The shit I actually know is weird enough. I don't have to make stuff up.
Gil, any other questions for this man?
Yeah.
What about Cannonball Adderley, you can ask me?
Yes.
Oh,
What
yeah,
about
wait.
Cannonball Adderley?
This is from Tom Leopold,
Yeah.
who wrote me today, and he said, ask Mike, excuse me, about Cannonball Adderley's Maylocks,
Yes.
and he wants you to respond to the square world of Dick Conti.
Well, to take care of that, the Square World of Dick Conti was a comedy album I had. It was recorded live. I used to be able to remember the name of the club. It was like Estelle's or something like that in Cairo, Illinois. And he was just this really kind of just average comic. Not the worst you ever heard, not the best. So in the drugstore, I buy this rat poison. I say, how to use this? He says, you put it next to the rat's hole. I said, look, if he had his back turned, I'd strangle the son of a bitch. I came home. I said, honey, let's go out. Grab a shovel and powder up. I mean, it was that level of stuff. So that's Dick Conti. But
Sort of like Jack Carter, or who's like an amalgam of
very much.
We almost had Jack Carter.
We almost had him. He died after we booked him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a character boy. So, but anyway, Cannonball Adderley, we were playing at the Summerfest in 1975 when it was the combined Ace Trucking Company and Credibility Gap that I told you about before. And we were on the bill, the bill of the whole fair with Chuck Berry, Ella Fitzgerald, Cannonball Adderley, and we were over in the Who Cares tent. We were doing our thing. Right. But it was like a really kind of an interesting thing. So we run into Cannonball there and, hey, man, how you doing? My stomach is really killing me. I must have drunk about a gallon of Maylocks. I'm going to go lie down. And he lay down, he went into a coma, and he didn't come out of it.
Wow.
It was like days later he was gone. Yeah. So we had a very late conversation with Cannonball Adderley.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I know.
That's what he came up with. I said we have Michael McKean on the show. Come, give me something because you guys have known each other, 40 years?
Yeah,
45 years?
Yeah.
That's what he came up with.
Yeah.
Now, I just thought of another team that is forgotten.
Yeah.
The Times Square 2.
Peter Ebling.
Wow.
And I don't remember the other guy's actual name, but they went by the name of Mycroft Partner and Andrew I. And they would introduce each other as my partner and I.
Oh.
The Times Square, too. They're a very funny act. And
Yeah.
Peter, I see Peter occasionally. I mean, he's
They're still around?
Mycroft left the business a long time. That wasn't his real name.
Yeah.
I forget what his real name is. How about the Stewed Prunes?
Stewed Prunes, I don't remember.
Richard
as well.
Libertini, who just passed away.
Oh, yeah. We
couple
wanted
of-
him for the show,
man,
yeah.
He was an awesome guy. I just loved him. And McIntyre Dixon.
I remember
They had a
McIntyre
duo.
Dixon.
They had a duo called Stewed Prunes, and they were just hilarious. It was just that free form, very nonverbal. Just kind of, strange little pieces.
If you could
and
find
everything.
any of this stuff, if it exists in any form.
Maybe. Stewed Prunes were actually in a movie called Fire Sale.
I know the movie.
Yeah,
Robert Klein,
They were the
who wrote
painters.
Where's Papa?
They were the painters.
Okay. Well, Libertini's in that.
He's
Yeah.
one of the painters,
Yeah.
and McIntyre's the other one.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
directed by Alan Arkin.
Yes. That movie, while being uneven, has a hell of a lot of
got
funny
some
stuff
funny
in
stuff
it.
in it.
And Vincent Gardenia and
Great, yeah.
and
Rob Reiner.
and Rob Reiner and everybody. You ever see Fire Sale? Written by a
were
guy.
you in it?
No,
Oh, then I must have seen it.
it's good to have principles, isn't it, Gilbert?
I can't believe you brought that movie up.
In fact, it's one of my favorite films. I have a copy signed by the entire.
In fact, It wasn't in the film, but there's billing. It says not Michael McKean, which is
Really?
that's what got Gilbert into the theater. Obviously.
Here's a comedy team for both of you guys
Yes.
that was perhaps not as obscure. Patchett and Tarsus.
Sure. Radio.
Yeah. Remember Patchett and Tarsus?
Yes.
And then Jay Tarsus became
Jay Tarver.
created Molly Dodd and
Yeah,
Slap Buffalo Bill and all kinds of
that was
wonderful
a funny
television.
show, wasn't it?
Terrific show.
It was a great show.
Terrific
See some of
show.
those.
And you worked with Dabney Coleman.
Drabbers. Yeah, bad. Yeah.
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 We're trying to get him to come on here and talk to us.
He's a surly bastard.
That's what I hear.
He's great.
That's what I hear.
Great. Yeah.
Before we let you go, talk about tell us a little bit about Chuck McGill.
Yeah, it's this character I play on Better Call Saul, and he's a very, very brilliant lawyer who is being squeezed out of the real world because of an affliction. He has a hypersensitivity to electromagnetic fields, and so he doesn't go out of the house, and he can't stand to be around electronics and everything, and so he's had to retreat from the world we all live in.
And you're getting great notices.
People are liking the show. I mean, they hate my character because he's a prick. I mean, that's no reason to hate somebody. Come on. We might be about to elect one. So.
Well done. Yeah.
But it's a good show. And I get to work with Vince Gilligan, who I worked with on X-Files years ago. And Bob Odenkirk, who is one of my favorite people. And Ray Seahorn, who's brilliant. And Jonathan Banks, who is the badass's badass.
Another terrific, heavy.
Yeah. And we have a great time. We shoot out in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where they have at least 2 great thunderstorms a week. It's my favorite thing about Albuquerque. Just gorgeous. Skies just go all Joshua Light show.
It's nice.
Yeah. It's fabulous.
It's nice.
And for the record, I've never seen an episode of Just Call Saul.
Better Call Saul.
Better Call Saul.
No, you got plenty of time.
I don't even know the
You
title.
can watch Just Call Saul because I'm not in that.
I'm out of questions, Michael, unless you want to say something about Joyce Bulifant.
I said she had
That's it.
a hair helmet.
Yeah.
That wasn't very nice.
Yeah. She's around.
Nice. She was very nice. I made fun of her on the Letterman show because I had never been on the Letterman show before.
Thanks for doing this and putting up with us.
Sure, my pleasure.
And our
Okay.
nonsense.
So this has been Gilbert Gottfried's Amazing Colossal podcast with my co-host, Frank Santopadre at Nutmeg Studios with our engineer, Frank Verderosa. And we've had
Thank
a
you,
man
Frank.
who I've never seen in anything. Ladies and gentlemen.
The very low profile Michael McKean.
You're one of those guys we could talk to for hours and hours because we
Okay.
barely scratched the surface.
Well, thank you guys.
Everything
It's been a lot of fun.
you're into.
Okay.
So we'll see you again.
Next time we'll talk about Max Swain.
Max Swain
Oh,
or
my
Dwight
God.
Fry.
I tried to drop his name as a gag once in front of a huge audience, and they went, crickets, crickets.
Thought you just said Max. They didn't know it was Mac.
They didn't. Max Wayne. I
Max
don't know.
Wayne.
I don't know what I was thinking. I thought it was going to be hilarious.
Okay, last thing.
All right.
Gilbert brought up an actor on this show a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I have some hope that you might be one of the few people who would know who this was.
Okay.
You want to pull it out?
Oh, was this Skelton Nags or Canags?
Do you know this guy? If we showed you his face, you would. Give him a hint.
He was, he was just a really ugly looking guy. Real creepy, bad skin.
And he was in a pirate movie.
He may have been. That's something he would be.
I think I do.
He
I
was
think
in at least 2 Frankenstein movies as an angry villager.
Oh.
He made Jack Elam look like Tyrone Power. That's
I think I know who you're talking about. I think I saw him, and he had a couple of lines in a pirate movie in like Captain Blood
I'm
or something.
sure.
we're going to
Yeah.
show him to you.
And I had to look him up. I said, "What the hell is that?"
You'll have to come back and we'll just talk about
Okay.
old horror films.
Let's
Yeah,
do it.
and old character actors.
The deal.
Okay, man. Thank you.
Okay.
Just anything as long as you weren't in it. And I'll be willing to talk.
I was in none of the old Universal horror pictures. We'll talk about those forever.
That's why I love them so.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gil.